what I'm going to talk about is this agentic report development in Power BI. But first, what we need to understand is Power BI report development itself. So I don't know how many of you heard about PBIR, the new, relatively new reporting format that is available in Power BI. The whole point of introducing Power BI is as Power BI matures and becomes more and more developer-friendly environment. Basically, the last remnants of like this, the previous era where didn't support the proper CI/CD management is the reporting, and now with this new PBIR format, same as the data models, the reports became fully manageable by code. I mean, still in preview, but it is improving quite rapidly, and basically it gives us the ability to manage reports similarly as we could manage data models for many years now. And this enabled, and this, you see a small example in my screen. We have a report folder and pages, and I'm going to show you in real life how it looks like. Pages and bookmarks and visuals and everything has its own file and its own description, which is really good in order to manage code, but it's relatively new, and it is quite a learning curve to learn. And it has its own complexities. So the PBIR format is not easy to understand, not as straightforward as the modeling, and especially because the complexities of how we design visually something. So in order to represent all our decisions that we make, when we design report, it requires relatively complex format and interactions between the different files if you try to break it up into these different files. So if you think about a simple example, you see a color on a visual background, let's say, or you see a color of a chart, where is that color actually defined? And it can be defined in many places, and but you just see one color. We know there is a base theme of Power BI. Then you can have your own theme. Then you can have you can explicitly set the color of a chart or of a line or a background in the visual itself. So immediately talking at 3 places where you can find the color, and that requires 3 different code change to actually get to the result you want. So, that complex interaction makes it that actually adopting ways to develop report by code is not an easy thing to do. But also the other thing is that there's not enough literature yet. It is relatively new. There's not a lot of examples. And if I want to use agents to large language models to help us doing development, it feeds from past data. And if you don't have past data, these tools doesn't really know what to do. And then they need to go through, okay, but why they doesn't know what to do, but they can figure it out. They see the code, why can they know? And this is when we talk about, okay, we want to use these agents, they are really good, they have some positive, they actually improve the way we work, but they have some relatively obvious flaws. So as you can see here, agents will definitely help us accelerate our code generation, will help us focus on the creative things and not on the repetitive stuff or the kind of boring stuff. And one thing which I think is the most important and most valuable of what these coding agents force us to do is to document first, because you cannot interact with an LLM without knowing what you want. In report development, what we did lots of times, because it's a visual type of work, or creative type of work. We start to experiment, we explore, we change. And at the end, when everybody agrees that this is the report that we are going to release, then we start documenting. And that's something that we need to basically change if we want to do anything with an LLM, because you cannot just say to an LLM, create a report, and then I will tell you if I like it or not, because then you're basically going to an endless loop. So you need to know what you want to achieve. I think it's a really positive thing, because like this, documents is always a struggle to actually proper documentation. Now we are forced to do. So we talk about, okay, what is the challenge of working with AI, especially when we talk about PBIR report generation? Because if you interacted with AI code agents, I don't know if you can do some hands up or just thumbs up of how many of you actually use GitHub Copilot or for actual coding, in either Visual Studio or any other tools, used agents for anything kind of coding. How many of you? Yep.
Got quite a few there.
Yeah, there is a few. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have used it, so like I showed really briefly my website, it was 99% created by with LLMs, because I'm not a website developer. I don't know how to create websites myself. I mean, it took me like, I think 5-10 prompts,
No.
or a bit more. No, not too much. But obviously I have a structure of how I build the prompts that make sure that you don't need hundreds and hundreds of prompts to refine everything. So which I'm going to show you what this kind of structure of how I build up but they are really good at creating websites, because there is millions of examples of creating websites.
That's brilliant.
But if you want to do something new, like creating a PBIR report from scratch, or creating, using PBIR format, there are no millions of examples. There are no real examples. There are not a lot of examples. They didn't have the time to learn it. Therefore, if you just ask LLM, create a new report page or create a report for me, it's going to fail miserably. It has no clue how to create this. And in order to understand how LLMs work, we need to understand kind of how we work a bit better. I don't know how many of you heard about Daniel Kahneman. It's a Nobel Prize winner, and he wrote this book of Thinking Fast and Slow. And basically, just for what we are interested in, what is important for us, is basically described the brain as two different systems working together. There is system one, which is fast, instinctive, emotional, and then system two, which is like more effortful, which is kind of the logical thinking when you need to think hard for something. But we need to understand that 90% of our life, or even more, and I don't know why my camera is so blurry, but 90% of our life, we live in system one. Automatically, we don't even think about it. Driving, walking, doing our everyday stuff. It doesn't require us to actually start any kind of hard thinking or figuring out things or solving problems. And that the reason why we do this, because our brain and our body is trying to save energy. So like trying to consume energy, trying to conserve energy. So, we figured out we had this automatic tool. Once you learn something, learn to ride a bicycle, you never forget it, that kind of thing. And this is how we live. This is the normal thing. When you use system two, when you actually try to learn something new, try to solve a complex problem, then you actually feel it. You feel your brain hurting, like it's actually consuming a lot more energy. And because we live in system one, and AI is basically kind of doing something similar as our system one, it feels like AI is thinking, but it's not. It's just recognize a pattern and then find a solution to that pattern. So it feels like it's thinking, but it's not thinking. It is basically find a close enough example from the millions and millions of already processed samples that is matching what we want and just gives us that, basically. So that's why it's really good at building a website, and by itself is not really good building a Power BI report, because Power BI report is not something that has learned yet.
You missed a comment from Giorgio. He said,
yeah.
Some days he's system 3.
I think that's what men's have, this kind of shutdown when they are just in this blank room or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, what is the challenge? And this is why I choose Power BI report creation, is basically because we have no example, because not enough examples. We need to use system 2, but AI doesn't have system 2. So how we teach it in order to not need system 2 to figure out. So like AI itself is not creative. It is, if there is no pattern to match, it will make up stuff. And, that's when hallucination starts. And with code, you cannot hallucinate because, code is quite a strict thing. Either it's right or not right. So if it's not right, it's not going to work. And this is when we start to build scaffolding. And soon I will get to the demo just to see how it works. And obviously it's AI demo, so you will see that we might, every time I, do this presentation, it will have a totally different outcome because LLMs are non-deterministic. So it's always fun to demo AI.
But I think that's a really positive, that's a demonstration in itself, isn't it? That you can't get the same answer each time.
It is basically impossible to get the same answer. Even if you use everything the same, it will not give you the same answer. And kind of the problem is we try to force AI to be something it is not, be deterministic when it is not. So, but how we interacted with AI in the past, and as we evolved past like last 2-3 years since we actually have AI tools like that we can use effectively for coding. So we started with prompt engineering, which was you started to write the prompt and you started to write more clever, better prompts and more cleverer ways to structure and like behave like Power BI expert, and you had there was this endless recommendation of what kind of breakdown of prompt should it be to get you to the result. And it turned out it's not enough, because in one prompt you just cannot contain all the information that is needed to give you something that you actually want. Then they started vibe coding, which is now not one code, codes are one after the other, and it's basically trying to slowly nudge AI to the desired outcome. But again, that's also turned out to be, it is nice, but it's quickly turns into quite an expensive endeavor if you think about the amount of energy and money, tokens it can use up. So that the latest iteration of this, and I might already be out of date, hopefully not, is called context engineering. And the whole concept of context engineering is that you are not trying to solve the problem in a prompt. You are trying to create the environment for the LLM that you will provide all the information in this environment that it needs, so it can most likely generate the kind of outcome you want. Hello. So when we talk about context engineering, this is when basically we start to kind of broaden our horizon of not just thinking about the prompt itself, but we think about what is the environment around the coding agent. And what determines context engineering? There's lots and lots of things. So what model we choose? There are, again, hundreds of models already, or thousands of models with each different sizes and settings, and obviously for different models are optimized for different things. They were built with different data, with different logic, and then there are settings you can set in models. Obviously, not all tools enable you to set settings of how creative or how how deterministic the results should be, how much should it stick to the original prompt, or how much should it try to figure out what you actually wanted. And then the size of the input it can accept, the size of the output it can provide in terms of tokens, and then lots of other things. The environment setup itself, are you using it in Visual Studio Code, or using it in Cursor? And then it has its own inputs into the LLM's behavior, because it is providing different access points, different system prompt modifiers, and all of these other things. Then, as a recent addition, came the tools itself. MCP, I don't know if you heard about it, Model Context Protocol, is basically giving the LLMs the ability to interact with tools outside of the prompt, read a website, read documentation, run a script in a database, create something, modify things in our infrastructure. And that obviously gives the LLM ability to choose to work with these if it's appropriate. Then if we go forward, the samples you provide, because if you want to help the LLM to do what you want, the best thing you can do is just to tell them, okay, this is what you should do. This is the example. If you see this, do this. If you see that, then do that. Then the instructions. So I will show you that, but lots of coding tools that have AI integrated in them have the ability to create instruction files that basically this file will be every time read by the LLM, automatically added to your prompt without you always inputting it. So it's basically like a default prompt, and which you can then expand with your own prompt, which helps you, again, the scaffolding of how the LLM should behave. And then just the last thing of these is the prompt itself. So if you have done all the other steps before, thought about which tools you are using, what model you choose, which tools you are using, what samples you provide, what instructions you do, and then you think about the prompt itself, then you will get a much better outcome. And again, this is what I'm going to show you in report development. We are not going to end up with a built report, because it takes a bit more time if you start from scratch. But what I want to show you is kind of the mindset, and it doesn't just work with Power BI report development, it works with anything. Basically, it's like context engineering demonstration with Power BI. Any questions? Have I missed any comments?
No questions as yet. I think we're all just listening and talking about PBIR and whether to wait for preview features when they actually are no longer preview features. But just looking forward to the and
so.
But I think it's exactly like you say. You're helping it to answer the questions for you by giving it the context that it needs.
Exactly. So let's go to some non-deterministic demo time. Okay, let me get my sum up. So what I have here, let me just show you. I have a Power BI report. This is a Power BI report I built. a while ago about UK open data sets and how you can put them together, different data sets from crime, properties, sort, population data, all the other things, all these things. And basically what I want to do is create a new page that will create like a crime overview, crime analysis, because I have some crime data. Here, a relatively simple table. What you need to understand that this, I try to make it like a nicely organized report, how it should be. So we have groups and groups of groups, and most of the things are nicely named. And so you can easily see that, you know, there are the headers, then there are the KPIs. So like they are kind of grouped together. So it is how like a report should be designed to make sure it is easily understandable by someone else. So we have this, we saved it down into a PBIP format. And as you can see here, we have this report folder. And to do a quick overview of this report folder, I will go to Visual Studio Code. And so what you see here.
Are you able to zoom in a little bit for us? Lovely.
So, but I want, is it?
Perfect.
No, where is control? No. Which one is where I can zoom and do things? Okay, yeah.
Control plus, I think.
Control 4 for me.
Ah.
So, which you say we had this combined data set, that's the name of the file. So we have the report folder. Then the report folder has a definition file, which kind of defines where the semantic model lives, which is currently it's inside the file. So it is just pointing to this other one. Then we have the definitions file. We have the report JSON. This defines the report basic things, what is the report level filters, what resources it uses, what theme it uses, you know, everything that's report level. Then we have the pages. You see all the pages separately. And within the pages, you have the page definition, page level filters, page background, page things. How many of you have worked with PBIR or actually tried out and you know gone through what is in PBIR? Yeah. Good. So just to know how much I should go into, and then you can see there are visuals, and then the visual JSON, which is basically defines the visual itself. Okay. So if you have mobile version, then you will have a mobile file here. One thing we need to understand when you think about, you know, this is when I talked about, okay, where is the color set to a line in the chart? It can be set in lots of different places. It can be in the theme file, the default theme file, the R specific theme file, or even in this visual JSON. And then, okay, but how we will make Power BI understand this? If I just ask Power BI, I don't want to spend the time on it, but if I just ask Power BI to create me another report page, it will make a disaster. It will be totally useless. You can try it, but my experience is that, you know, even with the recent advances, it doesn't really work. So that's what we find here. So basically, what we need to do is, okay, let's think about how we can have our agents to work. And so what I have here, just to show you. So I have here, I signed up for Copilot, GitHub Copilot Pro Plus, I think it's called, the highest tier. So I have all the models that I can use. There are these different models you can select. It has the ability to use tools. So if we go up, does it help me? Sec. No, it doesn't come up with tools. Okay. Why does it not show the tools? Doesn't matter. So they can tools it, and they also have Claude code. which I installed for Visual Studio. So Claude Code is another kind of tool that you can use. You don't need Visual Studio for it. You can use it in just simple in a simple text output. But I like to integrate it because it gives additional capabilities of we will quickly see. So the way it works, let me start here, is I already created a few things. I collected a few useful websites. So if we go here, it's basically the website of the Microsoft documentation of this is a PBI file, and this is how it works. And what I will say to my agent, hopefully I set it up properly. Please create.
So I know it's a bit of a pain, but are you able to make it
Yeah,
a bit bigger for us?
I will.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please keep a Copilot instructions file by opening the website, opening and reading the website in the useful sites file using MCP. And yeah, hopefully this will get to what we want. Yeah, so what it will do, it will read the useful websites MD, as you can see, and now it will open these websites. So it has MCP ability, so now it can go and read the websites. We're going to read these 3 websites that I added here. And now it says, okay, I gathered the comments information. Now I'm going to create the Copilot instructions file. So if you use GitHub Copilot, then there is a file called Copilot instructions, which you can create and manage. And that's the file that every prompt will be added to your prompt, basically. So it will, by default, it will always read that file whenever you prompt it. So like you can put the instructions, like always create tests for everything I build. Use this, library, in Python if you need to do these things. So you can put there really detailed instructions. Always ask me 3 questions before starting the implementation, or create a plan file and save it down before actually do something. So like you can give instructions, and it will almost all the time it will do what it says. Not always, but most of the time it will do what it is it should do. So what you can see in this GitHub folder, now this new Copilot instructions files is created. So what it went through, it created Power BI project guidelines, best practices. So basically what we are now doing is we try to teach our agent or our LLM how to work with a Power BI file. Okay. So we try to read, okay, how reference structure works, how a semantic layer works, because if you want to create a new report, it's not enough just to know how the reports works. We need to know how it connects to the model, because you get the data from the model or get the measures from the model. I want the key concepts, okay. And then it's basically, as you can see, it read the data, read the websites, and then just try to get things out of it. Okay. Important notes, must restart, things that are in there is now saved down. Okay. Good. So what if I want to use Claude? It has a different code. It's called init, and basically what it does. Is this yes? So it will create a file called claude.md. So it will basically start to read through all the files, as you can see. As you can see, it will read through all the files. Obviously, this one, I haven't enabled MCPs for Claude. So basically, it can't read the website. But because we already have the Copilot instructions file, it's clever enough to know to search for Copilot instructions and basically steal the information from there. So, and say, okay, I want to use that myself. And now it can want to do things like, read the semantic model properties. So I say yes. And then it is going to flambe a bit, as it says. So it goes through and starts to read everything. So as you can see, it's now reading the Copilot instructions file because they are clever and know that, if someone has created for other model, we have instructions, let's just use it. And basically, I have interrupted. Sorry, it is my mistake. I used the wrong code. So, yep. Okay. So I will keep this. So we have started to have instructions file. So we need to work on this, but that's kind of a good initial scaffolding. So the other thing we want to do is basically, I have a plan. I want to create a new crime analysis page. So I say I would like to create a new crime analysis page. Please create a plan for me to show how you would implement it. Okay, so let me show what it is. So what I said, I would like to create a new crime analysis page. Please create a plan for me to show how you would implement it. So now it is going to think.
So basically, just to make sure I've got it right, so what you've done is you've given it the different websites and you've told it to learn from the websites all about PBIR, and then so you're giving it the context of what you're expecting and directing it to where you want it to learn. And now you've shown it and explained to it what a PBIR is, you're now asking it to then work on your model to build another page.
No, for first, what I'm going to do is I want it to create a plan for me before it does anything.
Okay.
I don't want it to actually start implementing anything. Create me a plan file. Once it creates a plan file, I can review it and say, okay, do I like it? Does it make sense? Does it have anything? So we are not free from the knowledge. We need to understand what we are asking for, and especially for these things so what we have to treat, like for website development, we can say, okay, the LLMs are like pros, relative pros. So like they are quite good. So you just need to know what you want as a business person, and then you can ask the question, it will deliver a relatively good code. But if you think about Power BI report development, it's a junior. It doesn't know anything. If you don't tell it, it will not know how to do it. So like we have to be the pros. We have to teach it. We are the seniors. There's a new person who doesn't know anything about a company, doesn't know anything about Power BI report development. Now, how we would instruct someone who is new to then start learning it. So. Okay.
And Foimi's got a question. He says, can you name the file anything or only Copilot instruction?
Sorry, what? No, it has to be Copilot instruction. That's what it recognizes. Basically, the system prompt says, search for Copilot instructions file, and then I will read it. So then it will automatically add it to the prompt. So what I say, okay, created the plan. Okay, save the plan down on a file. So in the meantime, Claude created its own version. It is a much shorter version, I think, because I have accidentally interrupted it, so I would need to redo it. But basically, the Claude MD is the Claude version of the Copilot instructions. So now I asked Copilot to save this file now, and what you can see that Vo is using Claude. So like, even though you are using the same LLM, it will come with totally different outcomes based on the different context. So like both Claude code and Copilot, for me, using Claude Sonnet 4.5, but it will give you totally different outcomes because of the different context.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what I have here, I have a plan file of how it would do. So you say, okay, this is the existing page, so I know it understands my pages. So it knows that, what pages I have, what tooltip pages I have, what client data fields I have. So I understand it can read it, it knows what I have, what kind of measures I have, what would it do? So to improve the data model. Then, create a page structure. It will show how it would create a page structure. Then the visual design. And now I can do things like, if I go back to the Copilot instructions, what I can see here, and this is why I need to understand PBIR myself currently, because it says, okay, the pages or the visuals are stored inside the pages, but that's not 100% true. I want to expand it, because if we go into the definition, and I will need to find a good example. So as you can see, there is a button, it's not a visual. So there are buttons as visuals. There are shapes as visuals. This is actually a visual. It's a slicer, but this one is a visual group. So it's not a visual. This one is a group, which we see here, which is just this KPI visual group. It is not represented in anywhere on the screen. But if you want to understand, okay, I say, okay, give me all the visuals in the KPI group, it needs to know how to find the KPI group.
Mm.
And the hard thing is, in order to do that, this is the lines group, but in order to do that, because it's not in the folder names, it's not in the file names, you need to know that you need to go into a page, read all the visuals, find which one of them are groups, then find all the visuals, read the parent group name, which is telling you this visual is in which group, and then it can give you this list of visuals that are in the KPI group.
Yeah, you need to you need to zoom out a little bit for us. It's not so clear to see.
What do you mean?
So because it's all that's better. Yeah. So when you're referring to things, it's a little different.
You're totally right. So let's say this is a slicer. So this is a slicer visual. Mm-hmm. If we go down to the very end, is this the very end? This one. You see this parent group name?
Yeah.
So this parent group name is this 369. This one, this visual. It's basically slicer visual is in this group, in this other visual. It's a visual JSON file. But if I say, give me all the visuals that are part of the headers, it needs to know that in order to do that, you need to read through all the visuals in that page, check the header ID, go to that other visual that is in that folder with that ID, and basically create a list of what visuals are in the header group. And the name of header is not the name of the file. You need to read the file first to be able to know. Is it relatively clear?
So it is. It seems it really. I mean, to me, I haven't played with it at all, but it really does seem that you need quite a lot of knowledge when you're teaching it something new, because I mean, that's a lot of code there to then go through and think, well, is it right or is it not right?
Yes. But this is what we need to. So that's why I say in this case, because what we want to do is something new. So
yeah,
one doesn't know. We are the seniors. We need to make the decisions. What the LLM can do with us, once we basically created the right instructions, it can follow those instructions. If you don't create the right instructions, it's not going to be successful.
Yeah.
So what I say, update the Copilot instructions by reading all the visual JSON files in a page and identifying the.
You zoom it, is it okay?
Yeah, I'm going to just a second.
Yeah.
Type of visuals as.
So it's a case of you iterate and iterate, and then once you've got them refined, then it's set up.
So yeah, so what I said, okay, please update the Copilot instructions to read all the visual JSON files in a page, and identify the different type of visuals, especially the visual groups. So what it's going to do now, it's going to, hopefully, it's going to go on a page, and then goes to all the visuals, and then trying to find, it was searching for things like groups and things. It's now trying to understand how these work and how these interact with each other. And now reading some visuals and now reading the Copilot instructions to say, okay, what I need to add to it. And now we will see that it will update the Copilot instructions. Let's check when it's done. Okay, so yeah, that's the plan. Just a sec when it's done. Yeah, so then it added things like that. So visual JSON. Okay, what is the structure? How you find the visual type? These are the different visual types. These are the data visualizations. These are the interactive types, shapes, custom visuals, visual groups. This is how you find the visual group. Okay. KPI panels. So what we can do potentially, we can try now, is if we say, okay, create a new page and copy all the visuals that are in the KPI visual group. So just a sec, let me show. So I say, okay, so now I assume that it might not be ready yet, but now it's able to do this task, is create a new page and then copy all the visuals that are in the KPI visual group. Okay. So first for that, I just close Power BI just to make sure it doesn't break. It shouldn't, but let's check. Okay. So now it should, and as you can see, it's remember the context, and it's now, okay, I need to create a crime analysis page. I haven't defined it here, but because I have the Copilot instructions, I have the plan, it knows, and then have the context of the previous chats. It knows I am looking for the crime analysis page. And now it's going to search, okay, which parent group basically found the visual that is the parent group named KPI. Now searching for all the other visuals that has that parent group name and basically creating this list, and it's trying to copy that. We will see if it will be successful. I really hope it will be. So because it read the websites, it know in order to create a new page, you need to create a folder, you need to create a JSON, you need to create visuals folder. So like it starts to understand the structure of how you build a visual report page. And now it tries to copy all the files that are in yep, it is one file was copied. Let's see. Okay, now it tries to copy basically it's copying the files that are in this other page to here. What we would do with Control-C, Control-V. It's now copying all of the files. It will take a bit. Yes, it should be like 6, 10 files. It will be done soon, hopefully. Now let me also copy the visual group container. Most likely we are done, if I understand. Now let me update the pages JSON to include, so that the pages JSON now is the file that are containing what pages we have on the screen, what pages this report file has. So you need to update that file also to include this new report page. So what you say, like what you do in the UI is pretty simple because all of this done in the background. You create a new page and all of these things are updated for you. If you want to do it by code, you need to understand all these complexities. In order to create a new page, this is how many folders and files and updates in different files you need to do. So it says it copied all these KPI visuals. So it created this new file. This is the name. This is where I can find it. This is the visuals it copied. This is the group. So let's see. Let's see if I start my PBIR file. I hope I will see this new page. Again, it's non-deterministic, so not necessarily going to see this new page, but if we did the proper context engineering at the beginning, it's most likely going to be successful. Let a second until it
We're waiting on tenterhooks.
just a sec, just a sec. So crime analysis page has appeared. So we have a page, just to see. And we have our KPIs. See? So again, why we would do this amount of work for desktop? Yeah, what's the point? And I don't want to go further with the demonstration because I think it is clear kind of the process, the kind of mindset what we are going through. But the whole point here is that, again, you don't think about, creating one report. The whole idea is, let's say you have, so here I provided the data model, I provided a report template with design and everything. So you iterate a bit through on your Copilot instructions and PAM files to say, okay, this is the design template. This is the colors you should use. This is my style of creating a report or the organizational way of creating reports. And now you can, once you created that good template for your own organization or for your own kind of, in your own image, let's say, now you can ask Power BI to create not one page or copy something, but create totally new reports from scratch or update reports, hundreds of reports, because these code, you can just say, okay, create a script for me that does this. And I say, okay, run this script on all of the files I have in my tenant. Because with the Fabric APIs, now you can access files in the cloud. And so I don't think it has happened, but soon it will happen that all the files in the cloud that you published will basically the report files converted into this PBIR format. I haven't checked if it has happened yet, but I don't think. But once it is converted this PBIR format, basically everything that you can do in a desktop, you can do in the cloud directly through the APIs. And then you can just say, okay, we have a complete design change. and I need to update all my reports, and I have 2,000 reports. Okay, now you have a way, because you created your organizational context, to say, okay, let's do this on all the report files. So that's kind of the idea of, obviously, it's not worth doing it for creating a new page, spending 3 hours, but I can do in 2 minutes in the desktop.
Yeah.
But when you have like a pre-designed template, your data model, and you teach the AI of, this is the data model, this is the data, this is how you should use the data, this is the report, this is how you should design the report, this is, basically PBIR works, then you can ask lots of things to it, and then, be much more agile and much more scalable in your capabilities to say, okay, how I would do it if I want to change, what I had to do with that 100-page report, change the header settings this way. And then it will be the answer, and it will output the script. You run the script and it will change it for everything. Any questions?
Yes, there's a couple. Foyme says, when you go through multiple iterations to achieve the desired results, can those learnings be captured and reused by agents in future developments? And then is there a way to save these experiences for continuous improvement?
So I mean, by updating the Copilot instructions and things, that file that you can reuse anytime. So that's the whole point of building Copilot instructions and building plan prompts.
Okay.
You are saving, basically, you are building this Copilot instruction file to have more and more information of how to use, how to create Power BI reports. That's the whole point of these files. What I do, I can show you what I do mostly, not just in Power BI, but in other web development or whatever, is basically create these plan files.
Yeah.
For me, the plan file is working the best. So like you have your Copilot instructions, where it talks about what generally is the process, and the plan files talks about the actual implementation of, if you want to create this, this is how you would do that. And what I spend most of my time on is refining my plan file and refining my instruction file, and just basically you then need just one prompt and it will build the whole thing for you.
Okay, so so basically you're teaching Copilot using the LLM on your thing by feeding it and iterating through to make sure it understands the process and the context with which you're using it.
Yeah, but that's the difference between vibe coding and context engineering, is that you are not starting to build from scratch.
Yeah, you're building an environment that it understands. So you've got the guardrails in place.
Yeah. So and once you build the context, then the prompt basically is the least important part of the whole thing. Because your prompt, as you can see, can be really simple. I haven't defined the name. I haven't defined anything in the prompt, the name of the report page and anything. It just knew because all the context was already there.
Yeah, you taught it basically. You taught it and set up an environment that it knew which path to take. Jake put a comment in, which is quite interesting, because we're talking about how to build the report and the theme and the the model, but quite often it's the questions you want the report to answer. So I'm guessing you'd have a conversation with it, you'd prompt it to, the report is about this, the conversation with the stakeholders are about this is what it's going to be required for, this is what we want it to, basically these are what we want to do with the results when we get them.
Yeah, so like exactly. And so what do you see that, it doesn't mean that we don't need report developers anymore. We will need report. You need to create a design template. It won't, so you won't be able to use AI to create a good organizational report design. No, you need people to do that. But once you have that, then you can use AI to replicate that.
Yes. Yeah.
And then the same for like the user journey, the insights. So if you have examples of that and you provide these examples, then it will be able to replicate that. So like, don't expect it to figure it out itself, because it can't. That's the whole
No.
point. That is system 2 thinking. It cannot do system 2 thinking.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do.
So yeah, quick question from Aurora. Hi, Aurora. Claude Sonnet provided the plan and Claude Code created the code for the new page.
No, I haven't used Claude Code now. I just used Sonnet with Copilot, with GitHub Copilot. But if you would use Claude Code, it would do, the process would be similar. It works a bit differently. I just posted recently in LinkedIn, just really quickly. Do I have just?
And what about cost? Because we're coming towards the end.
Yeah.
So
cost. So these, I mean, what I use is like £39 per month, and it is. I was never able to exceed that. So just really quickly, I wanted to show this. This is like Claude Code. So what you can see here is that it can, this kind of advanced interaction capabilities, when you can, basically when you interact with Claude Code, it now gives you these kind of much things. So like it asks you questions, and then you basically define what you want, which is really, really good thing. I really like Claude Code. For me, that's kind of the best in terms of quality. I now use more GitHub Copilot because of the MCP capabilities, but basically I use both. There is a cost, obviously, and if you use in large scale tokens and everything, so this is why the goal is not to use AI for everything. It is to use AI to figure out things, you know, to basically prepare the context, and then it will just generate scripts that then you can run. So you are not going to ask AI to run the script. You are, or you know, do all the modifications in all your reports. You are asking AI to generate the script, and then you run the script, which is obviously doesn't have the AI costs.
Okay. So Jake said, so £39 a month for Claude, and you never go over that.
GitHub Copilot Plus, it was £39. Like it has huge amount of. I don't think it will last, because I think I am, you know, using more than what they are asking for it. But currently it's like, yeah, £18 for Claude Code. Again, there is Claude Max for £100 or something like this, with many times more capabilities. But yeah, there are lots of options. But the free versions is also already quite capable. So yeah, so just as a conclusion, AI coding agents, because we are running out of time, it is, you know, they are useful, but not, they cannot do everything without us. If we use context engineering well, then they will be much more powerful than without it. So yeah, and if you want to follow me, I just launched my new website, onedayai.com. I have a blog, selfservicebi.co.uk, and you can find me on LinkedIn and sessionize on all the speeches I do. So hopefully you found it useful, and thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, I did. Thank you so much. There's lots of thanks and applause. It's I think there's some people that have used it and some people that haven't, but it was really interesting to see the process that you went through and how you were using it. Like that you said yourself, you know, the PBIR isn't necessarily the easiest thing because it doesn't know it. So, you know, you're having to start from scratch, but it really opened my eyes to how you would use it. And there was quite a bit of conversation in the chat about using it for documentation, because again, really that's the standard. From if Jake and David were commenting on that.
First approach.
Yeah.
So like documentation is good, but that's what I'm saying. So if you have the documentation first approach, then the documentation becomes the instructions.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And Donald said he feels like a caveman driving, well, not driving, sitting in his Tesla that's driving for him. It's not very caveman-like, Donald, but yes. Yeah, in some corporations, Pavel said it's limited, just IT departments.
You have to
Go
think
on,
about where
Jay.
your data's going,
The
right?
whole point is the LLMs, if you have context engineering, the LLM itself is less important. So you can use local ones. So you can, if you don't want to use something that's in the cloud, there are lots of local options. The company can deploy, it is behind the firewall, doesn't go anything outside. If you have a good context, even a small model can perform well.
Yeah, all about where the data is being sent, definitely. Yeah, the data and just it's. I do think it's Donald's point of feeling like a caveman. It really can be quite overwhelming to think about just how fast, at what speed we are moving in so many different directions. Yeah. So a huge thank you, Mihaly. That was a whistle stop. That was really interesting. And I think from all of the comments, I think we've all learned a lot. So, that was really useful. Are there any last comments or questions for Mihaly before we finish for the day? I'm just having a look who we've got next week. Julie's put in anyone other than her using Power Query to prompt LLMs via an API to pull data into a report and tell you how you want the inserted data formatted.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there are so many use cases.
Yeah. I haven't tried that one yet, Julie. You'll have to come in and show us how you do it.
Yeah, definitely. I would be interested.
That would be really interesting.
I'm
I think, it would just. Sorry?
I'm assuming that would be for sample data, right, as opposed to anything else.
Yeah.
So otherwise you can trust it.
Yeah. And KK, I don't know your first name, KK, apologies. Is it easy to track the changes in PBIR format for visual tracking?
I mean, it is code. So if you have a Git repository set up, then obviously every change is in the repo, and then you can change it same as with any solution that you can commit to a proper repository and code management tool. So of course, and if you want to then document the changes, then you can train an LLM to then analyze the changes and tell you in human language what has happened, because that's kind of hard to understand for a human to say. You say you changed, I don't know, a color of a button and 15 files changed because of that.
Yeah, but it would sync it. Yeah.
Turn it into a useful description of what happened.
Okay, brilliant.
Hi. Sorry to interrupt. I just saw one question. I hope it will take more time.
Yeah.
When it comes to deploying the PBIR format, then previously PBIX format, is there anything we need to change it in the deployment pipeline? Especially we are using Azure DevOps. Is there some changes that needs to specifically do it for the PBIR format? Yeah.
So I haven't looked it up in recently, but previously the PBIR format could only be deployed through, I think, the GitHub integration.
You can deploy PBIR
so then you can
with Fabric APIs.
Sorry?
You can use the Fabric APIs to deploy PBIR. You just have to use the Git integration.
Okay.
And it had some limitations of what it's, as far as I remember, the limitations that you cannot do afterwards if you change to PBIR. I don't know if it has been lifted. So I know you couldn't download the report. You couldn't modify it visually. There were some things that
you can download now.
Then good.
Okay, brilliant. Well, there were some links in the chat because Pablo had some issues with that, and it's been lifted now. So I'm going to stop recording. A huge thank you, Mihaly, for your time, and for Jake for supporting in the questions, and David for being here as well, supporting, and to all of you for joining us. We will put the recording on YouTube, and have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Mihaly. That was